Hey everyone, welcome to today's show. I'm really excited today. We have Sima Dahl with us, and she is an international speaker and branding visionary. And she helps empower professionals to stand out, stay relevant, and be in demand. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Cheryl, I'm delighted to be here, doing good. It is February today here in Chicago. We got a foot of snow last night, so I'm just thawing out.
Ah, oh my goodness. I keep hearing about this crazy weather and everything that's going on around the country. So that's a foot of snow. Better than me when it comes to snow.
Right.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. I was a corporate marketer for many years, mostly in the high tech space, what we call a business to business marketer. I was really interested in branding and messaging and lead generation. And being in high tech, my career was nothing if not volatile. So I started using basic marketing fundamentals to create a bit of a name and raise my visibility in the community so that I could just find that next job, right? And then when I went out on my own, and that's a different story, but I realized those same fundamentals, that personal brand, personal marketing, started generating leads for myself. And here I am 13 years later. I do keynote speaking, corporate training, and executive coaching.
Oh, awesome. So so you've been doing this for 13 years. How did you make that transition from corporate to your own business? A lot of our listeners uh, attempt to do that or are planning on doing it.
I'll tell you the honest story and then I'll tell you what I did wrong. The honest story was that I was working for a large multinational organization, largely from home, and found myself with some free time. At that same time, people I knew from the high tech startup space here in the greater Chicagoland area were reaching out to me for help, for work, for branding, for messaging. And I had a bit of a side hustle. So I was doing consulting on the side, had my day job, and I thought things were pretty good. Lost said day job, as was the case with many high tech ventures, and
Yeah.
decided to turn my side hustle into uh, just do this, get through this summer, enjoy the sun, do some consulting on this side. And that was 13 years ago. I never really looked back. The thing I would do differently, well, there's a few things I would do differently, is one, I would start the business, the legal aspects of the business, setting up billing, building the website, all of that, while I still had a day job. And the
Yeah.
other thing is, I'd make sure that was something I really wanted to do full time. For me, as it turned out, the consulting wasn't nearly as exciting personally, wasn't nearly as rewarding as delivering the training, the workshops, as speaking in front of audiences and coaching people. So while I still do some element of consulting to this day, it's really around designing training and audience engagement, those kinds of things. Pure consulting turns out not in my DNA.
Yeah. All right. So that makes sense. I mean, especially people in the coaching space, we're very diverse in our um, interests and passions. And so, yeah, taking a little bit to see what is going to ring true. What are some things that you might have to tweak? Um, what's great about being in your own business, just what you said, you can shift and you can start to focus in on what you want to focus in on. So I love that. I love that you did that.
Absolutely. I've evolved, shifted, pivoted, use your favorite terms several times over the years. And you can refine your practice, expand your practice. But when we say, I'm a coach, there's a lot of room for interpretation. And so one of the things that I encourage your listeners to do is really define what type of coach, for whom, and to what end. All marketing sort of drives an outcome. What outcome can you drive with your clients?
Yeah, and that's a tough it's a tough sell to some coaches for them to really niche down and really get clear on their ideal client avatar, because we want to help everybody. But just as you said, in order to market effectively and to be heard through like all the noise out there from other coaches, is really to get clear on our ideal client and their goals, aspirations, and pain points, right? So that's a big
Yeah.
part of that marketing. Yeah.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Even in working with, last night I was working with a group of emerging speakers, and to say I speak about, leadership, or I'm an inspiring motivational speaker. What does that ultimately mean? How would a meeting planner know to book you? So the counsel or advice I give to coaches who are not yet ready to niche down is to identify where 80% of their business is currently coming from, or if they're not yet fully booked, the ideal client, and market to that and trust that you'll have 20% of your business that isn't in that space. But the more you put it out there, the more you will attract those buyers. So I work with sales teams too. They say, well, we can sell all these things to all these businesses all over the country. Okay, that may be true, but 80% of your buyers are small and medium businesses, in a tri-state area. So let's focus there and trust that you can say, but we also serve national clients too.
Right. Yeah, it's not about pigeonholing. It's about creating more freedom, I think. And so I think we're able to create that more freedom.
Yeah.
Awesome. So now I love that you talked about the personal branding, because as coaches, and a lot, I think this is going to be a good portion of those listening in. We get so hooked up or hooked into like the verbiage around what branding means, and the things that we should be doing to be branded. But personal branding, I think, is a first step, and then you can get into all that other things. But when you're first starting out, which our audience is anywhere in the first 3 years, typically, that the personal branding, I think, stands out as being a little bit more important. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
Agree. So I do presentations to rooms full of marketers, and we still can't agree on what do we mean when we say, build a brand. So for your listeners today, I would suggest consider a brand as your promise. So the product you deliver, the service you deliver, the work promise. When we do that thing I call coaching, right? What will you achieve? Where will you go through our work together? And ultimately, in the beginning, unless you're already starting out of the gate with a stable of coaches under your umbrella, you are the word, you are the brand. And whether you're looking for that first client or the 30th, people refer you. They refer you by name, not your business name, not your logo color, none of that. Ultimately, all you need in the beginning is the intention, the statement that says, who I am is someone who serves these types of people in this way to this end. And your character, your competence, and your charisma precedes you. So many of us start an entrepreneurial venture of this nature by leveraging our network. And so you inform your network that you're no longer an HR manager or a project analyst, that you're over here in this new space doing the same level of work, just in a new category, and get that network to embrace you, promote you, and refer you.
Oh, awesome. Love that. How did you formulate your personal branding philosophy? How did that get started?
Well, as I mentioned, I was somebody who was always looking for their next job. Your listeners, if they look me up on LinkedIn, they'll say, oh my gosh, this gal got around. And the truth is, I did have more jobs than boyfriends. It was, like I said, a very volatile industry, high tech. So the degree to which I was able to stand out, create a name within my network, lean in, volunteer, become affiliated or associated with, all the peripheral that we do outside of the actual job itself. So in my case, back then, I joined the American Marketing Association, and I didn't just join, I leaned in and I volunteered. And I volunteered all the time, eventually joining the board. And as it turns out, it was a fellow board member some decade later who would give me my first shot delivering a social selling workshop to a group of insurance professionals. I mean, that's how it starts, in demonstrating that character, the expertise, the willingness to see it through. So all of that, now I had to shift to this entrepreneurial opportunity. Where do I want to hang out? Who do I want to surround myself with? And then very tactically, how do I tell people who I am and what I do? How do I tell them when I meet them? And how do I reinforce that online? And I think that offline, online mindset when building a personal brand is the way to start. Thinking not just do one thing, but instead all the things, all the ways I may encounter your Facebook, your Instagram, at a chamber of commerce meeting, on a volunteer committee call on Zoom. Are you giving me consistent messaging about who you are, what you do, who you serve?
Oh, awesome. So what's something that you always see, happening with entrepreneurs or professionals that they do wrong, and what should they do instead?
I see this across all categories of professional, but especially those of us as solopreneurs in professional services. We go around the room when it's our turn to introduce ourselves, and we say something meaningless like, my name is Sima Dahl. I'm the president, founder, and CEO of Sway Factory Inc. And you're still trying to figure out what my first name is. And it's time to go to the next person. And it's just meaningless to the listening audience. So slowing down in what I call crafting that airplane pitch, a slow, personal, it's the person next to you in the airplane, and make it pop, make it come up with a way to introduce yourself that piques my interest. That's the P, opens a dialogue and positions you in my long-term memory. So instead of saying my fancy title and my degrees, even my last name, even the name of my company, which so many people sweat over, like what to call their company, and they really want you to know their
Another conversation,
deep, right? It doesn't matter, right? My name is Joe. I work with senior executives who want to leave their corporate high pressure jobs and serve on boards and associations, whatever it is.
right?
Just say that, because everybody listening to you, if they don't need what you do in that moment, I promise you they will at some point know someone who does.
Right. Awesome. How about social media? You think is it worth it? Well, this is a big controversy here, right? Like, especially now where, most coaches are online at this moment. That might change, like when things open up in the country, but, you have some marketers saying, hey, you should be spending an hour a day on social media. And you have some saying, oh, just go in for 15 minutes. And then what are your thoughts on that?
I know, it's maddening. It's maddening. I was literally listening to a newscast this morning that had a featured segment about this new social media called Clubhouse. Right? And it's audio only. And this cracks me up because the hypesters, the hipsters, and the pundits, and the so-called experts with their fat stacks of cash in their bank account, hey, Elon Musk was on there yesterday. Oprah's been known to drop by. Like, who actually cares about any of that? When your Clubhouse conversations leads to cash to cover your mortgage, let's talk. So I really do come at it. People think I'm the early adopter. Nope. I'm going to let the rest of y'all figure out how to do it there, and then I'll consider joining, because it is a colossal time suck. You should have seen me early days of Twitter. going down every rabbit hole till like my eyes were bloodshot. Like, gotta click that link, gotta read that blog, have to do it. And in the end, what you should be doing is creating your own content. So I take a measured approach to all things social. I know that my personal network remains a constant source of referral for me, because every blue moon on Facebook, I remind them exactly who I am and what I do. Right. So I might be, shooting the breeze, talking about the greatest new Thai restaurant that just opened up. But every now and then, I'm excited to be me, doing what I do for the people I do it for. It's just that drip, drip. That's Facebook. On LinkedIn, once a week. Once a week, I'm going to do something to stay top of mind and share content that you'll find useful, or that's just blatant self-promotion. It doesn't matter. That's what we're there for, to tell others what we do. It's,
Right.
People think it's bragging. I think it's benevolence. Let others know how you make the world a better place. But you will not find me on Pinterest. It makes me angry and hungry, and I feel inept that I can't, make a scrapbook or whatever. Instagram's like me and my girlfriends at a concert. I just can't, I don't know. I take a very deliberate approach.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's good advice too. Like, I try to tell my coaches, pick 2, 3 at the most.
Right.
Where are you getting the most engagement? It's just like any other task, right? All our tasks should lead to eventually getting paid. So
100%.
So where
Yeah.
are you getting the most engagement? Where are you getting the most referrals? It could be.
I on Twitter, I schedule a lot of my tweets. So we're doing a podcast together today. Hopefully your listeners will find value. You're going to repurpose that asset.
Yeah.
So am I. And I'll be sharing it on Twitter and tagging you, and those will be in my queue, so that when I log in on any given day, I can be present, trusting the content is flowing. Right?
Yeah. Yep. I like that. Awesome. All right. We just talked about that. So how do you keep you at the top of the mind of your network and your following? How do you stay there? Because there's just so much noise out there.
There is a lot of noise. My answer to noise is to the human individual touch. Because we have to understand that when we take action, however small, in any social stream, it's an amplifier. So if you have a good business foundation, you do good work, you know how to close a sale, you have testimonials, you've got some small track record of success, you're a viable coach, okay, social media can take what you're doing well and amplify our awareness of that. So for example, I'll use LinkedIn. I spend the majority of my social time on LinkedIn, and I will never ever, you get those automated options like, hey, it's your friend's birthday, it's their work anniversary, wish them well, and everybody kind of goes through and clickety click click. I had to take down my birthday because I'd get hundreds of happy birthday from people. So I always use your first name, right? I always use a full signature, because you may not remember who I am or how we met. I always treat you like we are talking over the picket fence, not like in this wild west of digital connection. And it's that small drip of personal touch. If you post some good news, Cheryl, I'll see it in my stream and I'll pause, and instead of liking it, which is one way to stay top of mind, I'll comment. And when I comment, I'll tag you to ensure you see it. And others will see me and they'll see that ripple effect, and I'll lift you up and you'll take me right there with you.
Yeah, I love that. So, so you spend most of your time on LinkedIn. That's interesting. What would you say is the area that you get the most referrals from? Is that in the feed, or is it just building those connections? Like, what is top way that you're seeing that happen from LinkedIn.
Sure. And I should explain that when I say the most time, I mean, on average, 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes a day to check who's requested a connection. Every one I accept, I reply to. Every connection I ask for, I customize. If somebody drops a comment in something I've shared, better believe I acknowledge them. So that's my 5 minutes. Or I'm prospecting, I'm looking up somebody I'm about to call, I looked you up, right? But fundamentally, you need a LinkedIn profile that sells you while you sleep. If I can't forward your LinkedIn profile to one of my friends, and that profile sells my friend on you and all you do, profile isn't optimized. And it's the fullness, the richness with which you tell your personal story, because you're the coach. I'm going to be working with you. Why are we talking about ourselves in a third person? Like we're all that. No, this is me. This is how I'll help you. This is how we'll work together. These are the outcomes you can expect. So I want all of that in your profile with those keywords. So if I'm searching my network for a particular type of coach, I find you. If I don't find you, that's on you. So that's first. If you're going to knock on digital doors or start crafting content to raise your visibility, if you pump out some great article that gets, people crazy, and they come back to your profile and it's anemic and sad and blank, with a great bobblehead, you got to put first things first.
Yeah, you kind of missed the mark there then.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So starting to kind of wind down here. What would you say if you had to give like 3 steps that somebody could take to really start their personal branding or up-level their personal branding?
First of all, I feel like maybe I left people hanging on the last question, and you said, where do I spend the most of my time? Profile optimization is something you do once and then you keep an eye on forevermore, right?
Okay.
So it's not like you walk away and then you earn awards or certifications and you never update it. But how I generate visibility is once a week I share some content. Doesn't even have to be a long article. Oftentimes it's the humble status update, just once a week. People are trying to be crazy there with all the content all the days. People can't even keep up with how much content you're creating. Your clients are working also, right? So slow the roll. So that would be one of the 3 strategies, is being mindful about sharing very specific, easy to read content that helps people remember the space you want to own. The other is to not think that because you shared something, everyone saw it. My closest friends and I, we have a pinky swear pact. If something major in your life happens, professionally, personally, or otherwise, please don't think I saw your Facebook update. Like it doesn't happen. So you think you've told your network you're coaching now because that one time you wrote it on Facebook and you don't want to be a pest or a braggart or annoy people. It doesn't work that way, right? We only learn what we're reminded of. So talking about your business in a first person, super excited, found a great podcast today from Cheryl Thacker, right? Like talking about the growth of your coaching practice reminds people that you want coaching clients. So that's 2. And 3 is to do less and do it consistently. So every startup, every entrepreneur that I ever worked with in the high tech space, there's like 3 lists. Here's a list of what we need to do right now. Here's the list of what we're going to do to market the business in the coming 90 to 180 days. And here's everything else we can't possibly fathom right now. and just give it a place outside of your brain to focus on fundamentals and stay there as long as you have to. But when we try to do it all, and we try to do too much, or when we're haphazard and we disappear for months at a time, that's when we keep having to start over and over.
Yeah, that consistency is so, so important.
Yeah, and I myself just fell off the wagon. I will completely confess, anybody who goes to my LinkedIn profile when they hear this and look for a post dated February 15th will see that I was just coming back out of a 3-month hiatus, because between politics and pandemic and general lunacy, I don't know what was going on in the constellations, but I needed a timeout. So I'm back now, and I'm back at my once a week, taking small action to stay visible in the stream.
Awesome. I'm so happy that you joined us today. Where could the audience get a hold of you if they'd like to continue contact with you?
Absolutely. It's super easy. My website is my name, simadahl.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn, and I've got some information on my website that you can use. You can get a 5-day kickstart to think about the personal brand you want to create. And I publish a newsletter on LinkedIn every couple of weeks, really practical tips to bring your personal brand to life and grow your coaching practice.
Awesome. And I will have all of those links in the show notes so people can just kind of click through to get to you. And I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I had a good time, and I think that your information was very helpful and beneficial. So guys listening in, take the advice and really slow down and be consistent and work on your personal branding. I think that is very important. And I love that this was our topic today.
You made it easy. Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, thank you. And have a great day.
You too.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next episode.